Hey everybody, this is Sicksinz Gaming here, and this is my review of Darksiders for the Nintendo Switch. Enjoy! Alright, so let's get started. So here, this is Darksiders Warmastered Edition for the Switch, which is a remastered version of 2010's Darksiders. Darksiders' story is all about death, war, betrayal, and revenge. Mankind has placed between heaven and hell not by chance, but in order to create a barrier between the two forces so that their internal war will come to an end. As such, 7 seals were placed upon the earth which, when broken, will call forth the Four Horsemen and initiate the end war. Basically, Judgment Day, where demons and angels will once rise up again and exterminate everything. This peace treaty was put in place by the Charred Council, so who also appointed the Four Horsemen to do the bidding and keep order at the time of the calling. However, until they are called for, the Horsemen should never interfere with human affairs or try and get involved with things that aren't related to them. Now, this is where Ward comes in. Ward finds himself on Earth while the demons and angels are causing havoc and killing anything that moves. Ward discovers that the 7th seal hasn't been broken, thus providing no reason for him to be there. This leads to a fight which he cannot win by himself, as the other horsemen weren't called. The council steps in the last moment and saves War in the afterlife, stripping him of his powers. Presuming the apocalypse is his fault, War is placed on trial and blamed for the events going on down below. Determined he is innocent, War agrees to be assigned a watcher as he returns to Earth in order to seek out those responsible and cast vengeance against them. So at this point, War is set back down after a century has passed when humankind has been wiped out and the angels are now stranded in this realm as resistance fighters. After gathering intel of the survivors and recovering the location of the remaining demons, it's up to you to eliminate this threat and prove your innocence to the council. Now we're going to be going into gameplay for Darksiders. So with Darksiders, it's a fun exploration hack and slash game with a hint of RPG and simple puzzles that's thrown together in the mix. Just think of it as Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. That game has a central area with a number of smaller open areas branching off of it, similar to what Darksiders does. Now I know I'm gonna get some gripe for this. It's just because as I play the game, it reminds me again a bit like Ocarina of Time mixed with Devil May Cry. But unlike Zelda, Darksiders game focuses on more of its combat and action than puzzles and platforming than anything else. Now don't get me wrong now, this game has plenty of simple puzzles and some platforming to the extent within the sections of the dungeons, but again it's not as heavy or as intricate as you will see like in a Zelda game. As you progress in game, you get more character upgrades by the story or the game shop from the souls you collect from either from chests or from enemies. So throughout the game, you actually will pick up various weapons you can obtain. It could be the Ward's gun, the crossblade, among other things. Even though you could use the ambassador controller literally with your fingers, this is pretty much what it is, like a hack and slash. But you'll be pulling off some rather satisfying and impressive combos as you swap between different arsenals, like from the scythe to your main weapon, your crossblade, and it's really pretty cool. I enjoy it myself, and even though I played it back in 2010, it's still satisfying to play this again on the go while I'm on the train. There's also a power meter in the game where you can actually transform to a chaos form by just pressing L and ZR once you have filled up to the power meter to full. Pretty much you'll be immortal in this state for a small amount of time, but it's really cool. It reminds me of Ifrit from Final Fantasy. Like I mentioned before, this game does have RPG mechanics, from leveling up, I should say upgrading yourself and weapons. Your weapons do level up as well, so when they level up they get stronger. You can also attach enhancements, or mods I should put it, so or you can even obtain passive abilities, which will be active throughout your whole playthrough of the game. In each new dungeon or areas you enter, you'll be fighting against different monsters. You can find new secrets to find as well, and the bosses are pretty badass if you ask me. From what I understand, the developers love their bosses and just basically how grotesque and creepy they can be at certain times, but even though it looks majestic at the same time, in my opinion. Now the one feature that did surprise me that actually was inputted in this port was the ability to go from performance mode or high quality mode. So if you prefer to play on high quality mode, you will be placed in 30 frames per second and 1080p on docked mode, and 720p and 30 frames per second on handheld mode. Now if you're planning to play this on 60 frames per second, which I would suggest, then it will be roughly around 810p when docked and 540p when in handheld mode. So for the visual difference with the drop in resolution, it's noticeable, but not only does the gameplay drop in resolution, but the actual HUD for the game does it as well, which is odd, but the trade-off for almost locked 60 frames per second is well worth it in my opinion, especially in dock mode. Alright, so let's go over with the pros and cons of the game, and I'll give you my final score. So here are all the pros. The combat remains the game's greatest strength, providing you with the plenty of ways to eliminate your enemy with your own personal style. The environmental puzzles aren't the greatest, but more often offers a reasonable challenge. Overall, the production qualities does show some signs of their age, but the game still looks great from 2010 until now, and it actually performs pretty well on the Switch and even in handheld mode. Now here are the cons. There are times when the environments feel a bit too big and empty, and especially when you backtrack, when you run around. Just maybe some added or better positions waypoints would have helped, if you ask me. If you also remove over the top elements, just focus on the core combat mechanically, it can be pretty repetitive. But there are stretches where the balance of the exploration and the combat skews, which demonstrates this further. From all the pros and cons that I described in this video, the overall score I'm going to leave this under is going to be an 8 out of 10, from tight controls to great gameplay, and even the options for high performance mode and high quality mode is a plus. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or if any of the games you want me to review, please comment below. Sicksinz out.